Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to a much more intimate and secret and lovely episode of the Gloves Off podcast featuring myself, as always, the voice of Master Hand Games, MHG Koopa, and joining me, the Fresh Prince to my DJ Jazzy Jeff, Mr. Chris CX. What's going on, buddy?
Not too much, man. I'm thinking of more adjectives to describe this episode of Gloves Off. Awesome, spectacular, best Smash podcast on the internet, stuff like that comes to mind. But yeah, so much more intimate indeed. So we're taking a little bit of a different spin on things. We're going to be pushing for mostly recording these versus streaming these, and that's for a few reasons. Looking to kind of focus on the content and sometimes locking down some guests. And ironically enough, we don't have any guests today, but like this is the first go at this format, so it's kind of a little bit experimental between myself and Mr. Koopa here. But figuring it might be easier to lock down some more unique guests and other people that maybe can't make the usual Tuesday night slot that we've typically done. So here we are, trying something new.
Yeah,
And
variety is the spice of life. We've been doing this for almost a year at this point, so
yeah,
without
wow.
any like sort of break in how we do things. I think it'll be a year in August. I think so. We're nearing the anniversary mark. We got to get ourselves a gift or something.
Yeah, I'll think of something nice to get you. I didn't realize that. I guess it was August because I'm trying to remember. I think we did it the second to last PR for New Jersey Smash 4, which I guess would have been August. Yeah, because then we did like a 4 month season for the last season, and that last season was like what would you compare the last season of Smash 4 to if you had to compare it to something? I feel like there's a good comparison
Uh,
that I'm not thinking of.
Think of like the last season of your favorite sitcom that you never asked for.
I got it, dude. I got it. It's like the last few seasons of Scrubs. It's like the last it's like the last season of that '70s show. It was like there's definitely more, but yeah, it was just sort of like one of those things where a lot of people just stopped caring, playing, and the like, and then we were in Ultimate Lands shortly thereafter, and then there was that initial boom, and then now we've sort of stabilized after half a year of this game now, since the game came out in January, and that's kind of crazy in itself, dude. This game's been out for half a year, so that is a whole topic in itself. But that is not the topic of today. The topic of today is going to be Smashadelphia and Too Many Games, which is the convention that Smashadelphia ran at. And this tournament, there's so much to say about it. I would say, largely speaking, it had everything you would want for like a tournament in the region of Philadelphia, and a tournament themed off of the city of Philadelphia, even though it was not in Philadelphia, it was in Oaks, Pennsylvania. But yeah, it was at a convention, and if anyone's ever been to a gaming convention, especially one of this magnitude, there is a lot going on. This particular time, there was like a wrestling ring with cosplayers in it, which was very loud, by the way. Lots of loud noises and lots of
Hello.
loud theme songs. And then, yeah. So, anyways, I don't know. What was your overall experience before I really dive into Too Many Games? Because I know that you actually got the opportunity to actually walk around the con. I unfortunately did not.
Yeah. Sorry about that. You actually just cut out for a second. So, are we just still talking about the convention?
Yeah, I was basically just saying there's a lot going on in the conventions and all that kind of stuff. And I was saying I didn't really get to walk around the con very much.
Yeah. So, Too Many Games is a convention that happens every year in this particular like area of Pennsylvania, which I still haven't figured out like quite where it is because like some places say it's Oaks, others say it's Phoenixville. So like I'm not really exactly sure like where this takes place in Pennsylvania, but it took place in that general area. It's about 40 minutes outside of Philadelphia. Um, the convention itself is great. It's I believe the largest East Coast market for video games, or at least for retro games and stuff like that. So
Well, there
um,
was like the one thing I heard is I feel like everyone I spoke to um was basically I've heard at least one everyone I talked to ran into like their favorite YouTuber there, which I think is the coolest thing ever because I'm just like, "Hey, I'm kind of like a YouTuber. Like I actually fit in here." So it's like I know people said they ran into like people at like the Crush 40 concert. I think that was you in fact saying you ran into who'd you run into?
I ran into Chugga Conroy at the Crush 40 concert. He's like, if you're like into like Let's Plays and like Nintendo stuff, you're like 99%. I'm 99% positive you're familiar with Chugga Conroy just because he's like one of the biggest names
Yo, he's got a
in that
really
market.
cool YouTube icon. That's a Chrono Trigger reference.
Yeah,
I like him
yeah,
already.
his current playthrough is of Chrono Trigger, and he does like other popular Nintendo games, like obviously Pokemon. He did a Let's Play of Splatoon a few years ago, which is really good. And other games. It's funny because like I got to meet him and talk to him, and I got to tell him because like it's thanks to videos like this I like got to experience a bunch of games for the first time. Like he did a Let's
Interesting.
Play of Kid Icarus Uprising, and that's what sold me on buying the game because it was a lot of fun. And he's one of my favorites. It was a big deal to meet him. Some Call Me Johnny is another YouTuber that frequents this con. He's if you're into like reviews and stuff like that, he's a big one. He's one of my personal favorites, especially because he's like does a lot of Sonic content.
Yeah.
um I ran into Scott the Waz at Wawa, and he asked me what to get because he'd never been there before, and I told him to get a hoagie. So I hope you enjoyed your hoagie, Scott. because But yeah, this is definitely like a good like breathing ground for like all sorts of for all sorts of YouTubers of the likes. There's a whole bunch of others that I'm missing, like Proton John and Family Jewels. Like for all these, if you're familiar with YouTube content in general, like these names will make sense to you. But that was really cool to me, just because like I don't usually like have moments where I stumble over my words and I
Like
like fanboy out.
starstruck in a sense.
Yeah, like that doesn't usually happen to me. I tend to think I'm a pretty like mellow and cooled out guy, but that was really really cool to me, and the event itself was really fun. I'm not like a huge retro game person. I don't really like. I'm not much of a collector. Like I understand I think retro games are cool, but like it's not really a hobby that's like kind of my speed. I usually tend to lean more towards anime conventions than I do like proper game conventions,
There
just because
was
that's more of
was
my
there
speed.
was there any anime there? I feel like there was maybe a little bit
There's
of
plenty.
anime
There's
there.
no. There was plenty of anime vendors.
There's so much crossover.
Yeah, there was. I usually like lurked out to like the 4 or 5 like anime vendors they have, and I kind of bought them out of all their stock. Shout out to the Ruby figure that's looking at me right in the face right now. You gorgeous, gorgeous creature. And I got a couple of charms to put on my controllers. There's a couple of I actually didn't do a lot of shopping for myself this year. I mostly did a lot of shopping for like my relatives and like my other important people in my life. So
It's like
you
a
know,
low key good opportunity. I think people sleep on. I mean, I could tell you, I personally slept on it. Where you go to a convention, there's a lot of unique stuff. Like you could totally get someone like a Christmas gift, even though it's like June. You could totally do that though, or a birthday
oh
present, whatever.
oh yeah, like if you're not sure what to get somebody and like you're someone in your family's a geek, 9 times out of 10 you can find something at a convention that'll get the job done. But
I
yeah, the convention was super sweet. It's unfortunate that not everybody got to check it out. I'm glad that I didn't really have anything of importance to do because I was outside of commentating because I was able to, spend my free time getting my steps in and walking around. Um,
there's so much. I'm thinking about all the like different YouTubers there, and even like we got the Great Gonzalez. You were just mentioned this is Scott the Waz. We ran into, and I think that's actually super cool. There's so much crossover at something like this, and it's. I mean, I know we've talked about going to different events and them each having different things to offer in previous episodes, but I think something like a gaming convention is really interesting for a gaming tournament that actually runs well. It presents so many opportunities because as like a Smash streamer or just like a tournament streamer in general, that kind of gives you access to some of these guys who really might be interested in like a competitive game scene themselves. So then it kind of gives you some kind of opportunity for whether they had like an impression thinking like, wow, this is pretty cool what these guys are doing, or maybe just like, I didn't realize competitive gaming was really like this, yada, yada, yada. So I think that in itself is
yeah,
really nice. And I think there's a lot that can happen with that in general.
yeah, it was actually really interesting you bring that up because when I talked to Chuck Conroy for like 10, 15 minutes, and he brought up the fact that I was wearing, the enamel pin for Smashadelphia, and he was asking me, he was like, "Oh, so are you here for the tournament?" And I kind of explained what I did, and he was like, "Oh, that's super cool." Like, and he had like a very like loose understanding of the competitive scene because he mentioned Zero, so he's like at least like familiar with like who the big content creators are in regards to
Right.
Smash, and like I know in the past some Call Me Johnny like has he I think at the very first match in Philadelphia, um I think like 3 or 4 years ago. Like he entered a tournament and he was very familiar with how the competitive side of things worked. So it's definitely not like a foreign concept to these guys. And it was kind of fun seeing the crossover. And there's like still like a crap ton of people like we haven't really like talked
Dude,
about yet. Like we
there's
kind of just touched the surface.
yeah, I don't even think we barely even did that because there's a lot of people at this convention, a lot of people, and there was just like a lot of different things like between the panels, and like even like the Crush 40 concert and the tournament. So you had so many different things that bring in so many different content creators. You even see on the overlay if you're watching this and not just listening that you even have a little section just dedicated strictly to content because going to this sort of opened my eyes to like the world. You really realize just like how accessible and dare I say just like normal these people are, just like regular people. It just kind of fits in. And meanwhile, it's like we were just talking about getting starstruck by seeing one of them because like wow, I watch your videos all the time. So that's one of those things where it's like you and I, Kupo, like we're chipping away at YouTube all the time, and we're small scale now, but obviously things do grow over time, and as we get better and things get better, like it's really the sort of the same thing. Or even as Smash grows, it's really unique. And quite honestly, I would really look forward to being back at a con like this last year, despite some of the technical difficulties that the tournament sort of hit, which was like sort of one of those things that was like no one's fault. It was just like sometimes you're just gonna have a rough day. And that was sort of like Smashadelphia in a nutshell for me. Even some of the players, it was very interesting to say the least.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that those things happen. Obviously on your side of things, there's issues with the capture card all weekend that like
So here's the funny
even
thing is I don't even know if it was a capture card anymore. I think it was literally an OBS update that just wasn't playing friendly with some of like the capture card drivers. Like it gets so into detail, but yeah, it's like that happened, and then we shorted the stage power a couple times after setting up Splatoon 2, which was kind of weird because this isn't a convention center, so there's a lot of electricity, and apparently each of like the outlets that we were drawing from can like power a house. I forget the exact like wattage, but it was like maybe 60 amps, something that could power a house,
it was
and
something crazy.
something crazy. And we were basically setting up Splatoon. And for anyone unfamiliar with like Splatoon or how to set it up, there's a lot going on. There's a total of 9 monitors, 9 switches. There's a couple headphone like big amps. Hold on, I'm gonna find the setup right now. There it is. Like it's a lot. Like you could see all the wires here. And I feel like that doesn't even do it justice. So basically, we had this set up, and you don't see anyone sitting here where we were kind of crossed over with commentators. Like the Splatoon commentators are across the stage here. But like
Yeah.
when we were doing the both at the same time, we basically powered on, and literally the whole stage lost power. Actually, in the middle of Gonza's set, which really wasn't a big deal. Like, technically is a big deal, but it wasn't really that big of a deal. Ended up getting it situated, but like it was just like it was like one of those things where it's like, okay, great, now what sort of deal. But it ended up finding its footing and it ended up being a good tournament. My favorite part, honestly, was it had all the things you would want to see from like a tournament in Philly, although it wasn't actually Philly, and that's like all the goons in Philadelphia basically popping off for their boys and Gons or whoever else was there. And to me, that's like the best part about an organic tournament like this. Like you get like the kind of the locals are there, and you get a taste for what the scene is like. And I know you were busy commentating the top 8, but those guys were really rowdy in top 8, man. I mean, there was one of their guys, Sauce, who's apparently PR number 13. I didn't know that, but shout outs to Stu for really knowing his stuff. I heard him mention on commentary as he was making some upsets, like he beat Dill. I think he beats. I gotta check
He beat
Sauce.
Suarez as well.
Yeah, he beat Suarez, and
And he
Sauce is
beat
just dude. Sauce is he's a Mario main from Philly who showed up in his Nick Foles jersey just doing his thing, and I was like, this is a Philadelphia player. And all of his
Yeah.
boys are just yelling absolute gibberish. Like you just hear Beast in the background, another one of the PR players in Philly, just like yelling at pretty much anything and everything. And like honestly, like it was a lot of fun. Like I found myself kind of smiling as I was hearing it. So we got to capture a lot of that, and that sort of felt really good to just see, because I know I'm so used to just seeing New Jersey tournaments and what those hold, and we've been kind of spoiled in terms of like crowds and kind of exciting tournaments in New Jersey. So seeing something just a little bit off a center from what we usually get was really, really cool, and kind of reminds me like, wow, yeah, the different regions really do present something different in themselves.
Yeah, I agree. Like every tournament really, for the most part, this tournament was like pretty chalk for the most part, and then Sauce was kind of the feel good story of the weekend. Like obviously beating a lot of good players. Like Suarez is obviously a name, Pelka is a name, Dill is also a name. So he really held his own, and it's nice to see. It was weird because like when Pasta and Beast both lost, I was like, I don't know, man. Like, is there really anybody else that can like kind of stop Gons after, especially after Ling Ling lost? And then I saw Sauce. I was like, okay, Philly still has a heartbeat here. Um, granted, the stage got too big for him at some point too, and all good things must come to an end. But like you said, it was a lot of fun to watch, and I gotta say, this is probably one of the most positive in crowds I've like seen
Yes.
at an event. Like even outside of the Philly Goonery, which is always one of my favorite
Well,
things to
that was like part
experience.
of the positive part about it. That's the crazy thing. Like, it comes off as goonery, but man, those guys are like, it's like the most friendly goonery you'll ever see. It's very like lighthearted, and like they're yelling things, but none of it's like really toxic or bad. It's just like I heard Beast at one point. Hold on, dude. I gotta find Juice with his Naruto Hidden Leaf headband on, because like all I heard from Beast is just like, this is your ninja way, like just yelling in front of the crowd. And I'm like, yo, that is hysterical, dude.
That's
it-
absolutely amazing.
Dude, it was amazing. And then yo, I don't know who. Yes, Sa is a Philly guy or nah.
Yes, he is a Philly guy. I believe he goes to Bears. I've seen VODs of him playing at Bears.
So
So
here's Juice in his Village of the Hidden Leaf headband, and in the background in the crowd is this Beast going, "This is your ninja way." Nothing bad about the players. Maybe talking a little bit about how much they all hate Snake, but that's like pretty like I think that's pretty lighthearted compared to like some of the other things you'll hear in a Smash setting. But
that's big. That's big food facts, my
that
guy.
is big mood facts, my guy. OD. But anyways, yeah. So there was a lot of that there, and I think that was probably my favorite part of the tournament, quite honestly, despite all the bumps and bruises that may have came from it, or even just sort of some of the non-optimal setup stuff. Like I got to give shout outs to PK Sparks, who kind of took over the planning this time around. We almost had him on this weekend, just kind of didn't work out schedule wise. But he really kept it together really well, and it was very clear that
Yes.
he very, very much cared what was going on, and really wasn't happy settling for some of the subpar things that were happening, and kind of was quick to do a solution. I saw that guy running around all over the place the entire weekend, just sort of whether you need like an extension cable or you're trying to figure, like he's running around for you, and that was really cool because I had actually never worked with PK Sparks before. I feel like you probably have somewhere along the line. I'm
I
guessing.
have.
Yeah.
I've worked with PK on a multitude of occasions. Actually, on like the last like three Smashadelphias, he's been the core staff for commentary, and he's been nothing but a great friend to me since I've met him. We've worked together in the past on things. He's provided great advice for me in regards to like content creation and stuff like that, as well as me. He's bounced off of me for commentary advice, and he's also like a relatively famous YouTuber himself. Like
Yeah, dude,
people don't really realize that, but like PK is like he's got like over like 50,000 people following him on Twitter. He's got like hundreds of thousands of subscribers on YouTube, and when I came into the scene, I knew PK as a YouTuber, and now I know PK as a colleague and a friend, and he was the hardest. He was hustling real hard this weekend. I said it in one of my various shout out threads, but he just was constantly going the extra mile to make sure that I was comfortable, that I had everything I needed. He's a really hard worker, a great colleague, a fantastic friend, and I'm very blessed every time I get to work with him, because every Smashadelphia I've gone to, I've always been taken care of, and I love this series so much because of it.
I don't think I've ever had a more accommodating person to work for as far as tournament preparations go. I can't think of anything that's even come close. And that's not even a shade at anyone I've worked with. It's just like, I don't know, man. Dealing with PK was really good. I mean, the dude's super positive. And honestly, yeah, his YouTube channel kind of kicks ass. I'm gonna say that.
Yeah, he's got numbers. It's actually funny. So they did a panel this weekend, which was like a game show. And through this game show, like 4 years ago, is actually how I discovered who PK Sparks was. Because the crux this game show is called Throw Controllers. It's put on by the Runaway Guys, which is like a collab channel of YouTubers. And basically, what they do is they have various challenges you compete in, and for every challenge you win, you stay on stage and you get a point, and then whoever has the most points at the end of the show wins fabulous prizes. And in this year, I think it was like back when the Wii U was like still new. PK won a brand new Nintendo Wii U with a whole like crap ton of games.
Yo.
And when I asked him about it, he's like, "Yeah, that's actually what kind of kickstarted my content creation stuff because I wasn't able to afford a Wii U at the time." And
Yo, no
that's
way.
kind of
That's a really cool story.
yeah,
Actually.
it's awesome.
Yeah,
And
that's like
it's
a
funny
total feel good, I gotta say.
yeah. I kind of wish I was low key able to watch the show though, but unfortunately, crossed over with one of my blocks. But nonetheless, though, I digress.
So
I was able to experience cosplay wrestling though, which was fantastic.
Dude, cosplay wrestling is great. There was a Mario and Luigi there coming out to some like really dank remix of like the underground theme from Mario Brothers 1. It was crazy. They're both wearing just jeans and like a denim vest with sleeveless shirts and just like the red and green just shirts obviously underneath and ball cap with like baseball bats. I was like, yo, this is fantastic.
Shout outs to Hagrid and Ezio from Assassin's Creed who squared off.
Yeah, man. I wish I got to see more of that. The one thing that I thought was very cool of PK, and it seems like PK is doing a lot of Nintendo content, and the cool thing that he did this past weekend, was he introduced Splatoon 2 to the rankings of the tournament brackets, and it actually did pretty well. But I think better than anyone would have thought, considering Splatoon 2 seems to be on a little bit of a downtrend, where they just like announced the last Splatfest, which was like the staple of their Wi-Fi stuff. Which for anyone unfamiliar with Splatfest and Splatoon 2, basically what they would do is they take like ketchup versus mustard, and they would just do their normal Splatoon game mode where it's just like, cover the ground with as much of your team's ink as you can, and whoever has the most colored ink on the ground at the end wins. And what they would do is they would take, like now their last one is called Chaos versus Order. And I learned something about this. Apparently, when they finished Splatoon 1, they did their final Splatfest, and they used the final Splatfest to determine like kind of a theme for the next game, Splatoon 2. I learned that this past weekend. So that makes me think that perhaps there is a new Splatoon in the works, right? And that's kind of interesting because I just got introduced to the Splatoon competitive community as a streamer just this weekend, which I think is a really cool opportunity personally because I really had a lot of fun streaming it. And the greatest part is we had some of the Splatoon talent in Milena and Acid Sunshine, who are two very good Splatoon. I think they both stream it, and they're both casters for it. But they ended up with a 50-man turnout, and I thought that was really good because this game is teams of 4. So yeah, there was 12 teams, and that means there was just roughly about 50 players who came out for the Splatoon bracket. And they seemed to have a really, really good time. The viewership was really good, and I think I told you this earlier, Koopa. I'd never seen hearts spammed in a Twitch chat before. I was very unfamiliar with what I was seeing, but like it made me feel really good. And this being one of Nintendo's games that we know that they were really trying to push competitively, I thought that was interesting because he already basically said like, yeah, in 2020 we're gonna be seeing, we're gonna have Splatoon again. The guy on the left who's doing the OKs right now, the OK signs, that was just doing that, is apparently a pretty big Splatoon player. His name is Gold. So I got to learn quite a bit. And I thought that, like, just bringing that there made me feel like, PK and himself is really interested in just developing the local scenes, which obviously jives very well with what you and I do around here with Smash. So I think that there's just so much opportunity in the whole con and tournament and everything. I walked away despite feeling really bad about some of the tech issues, feeling really good about that, and that was a really big sticking point for me.
Yeah, I agree. It's like Splatoon. It's really interesting you mentioned that because Splatoon I feel like is still very niche, depending on the circles you hold, which is a shame because the game is like
it's a lot of fun.
Seemed like it's a lot of fun, and it also has seen like its fair share of time in the competitive sunlight. This area in particular, like it's funny how like the Northeast just continues to stack up wins on all fronts. But
Yeah.
Splatoon is like super big out on Long Island. I know Hangman, resident guest of the podcast, and also he's a big Splatoon guy himself. He's constantly raving about how Gen Game and Aeon, they house one of the biggest Splatoon events on the East Coast in Beacon
Yeah,
every year.
he casted this weekend.
Yeah,
Splatoon.
and it's also been present at big majors such as Smash and Splash and Genesis,
Mm-hmm.
and friend of the podcast Miss Click is a huge Splatoon fanatic
Yes.
herself. She attended Smash and Splash for Splatoon, so this community has a lot of reach and star power. And Milana and Acid Sunshine were just a joy to talk to all weekend.
They were so nice, man. There was just there's so much love for their game. They just like radiate it, man. It's so good. And they seem to be like a couple casters that kind of carry the scene odds back. They had a lot of insight on some of the players here, and the players kind of get scattered because of the 4v4 format. So like if you have someone going to a con, they kind of have to get paired into teams and stuff like that. So you get some kind of scattered talent. And hold on, this is not the right VOD, but there was literally like I don't think this kid could have been older than 6 years old on one of the teams. It was actually really, really adorable to see him sitting there with like all of the other people.
Oh
I think
yeah,
I found it.
the combined age of it, like from what I've been told from Frank, is that a lot of the community for Splatoon is like very young, and there's a lot of parents that go out to these events. So like a lot of the
Look at this
parents like
kid.
know each other.
He's a baby. He's a little babby. It's
He's probably
adorable.
and he's probably way better at Splatoon than I am. So.
I mean, his team kind of got murked, but like they also played against a team that I'm pretty sure that won the tournament, so can't really be
I
too
believe
upset.
so also.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I got to talk shop with Milana a lot, and she passed on the good word about Splatoon stuff. So, and I definitely want to do my research. Like, I think this game is absolutely amazing. I love Splatoon. I don't have 3 friends that also play the game at a level that I would like to, uh, I don't trust myself to join a team of people, average Joe Splatoon players, and to take on Globo Gym. But it's definitely still something I'm very interested in, and I hope that the crossover continues because despite that one power snafu, because yeah, like we said, like we basically plugged like 10 systems into one outlet and we kind of fried the thing to death, which
Yeah.
resulted in the power getting lost 10 times. So I hope they don't expect us to pay for that power strip.
No, rest in peace, that power strip. That thing is dead forever. We shorted it like 3 times.
But the event was great, and the community was really sweet to talk to, and I hope this game continues to live on in some facet. If it is Splatoon 3, which I don't think is gonna happen because the game is still like relatively new. The Switch came out in like what 2017.
Also, no, dude, I think the Switch was out. Hold on, I'll look it up right now. Switch.
Because I know Splatoon 2 was like an early, I don't know if it was a launch title. It was like an early launch.
It was very
game.
early. Let's see, release date was 2017, March 3rd, 2017.
Yeah, because I know it was like one of the first games I bought, like for the Switch. Like that was kind of my primary game machine for a while. So
I have a feeling though that maybe Splatoon 2 was possibly intended for the Wii U, and then just the Wii U died. I can't. I get that sort of feeling about it. The thing about it is like there was only a 2-year difference between Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2's release, as it would turn out, because Splatoon 1 was released May 28th, 2015, whereas Splatoon 2 was 2017. So, I mean, we're kind of at that mark, and if you recall that initial, remember like the first initial like Switch announcement stuff, like that Nintendo Direct, Splatoon was like their game of choice where they showed on like a big stage in esports and yada yada yada. So I don't know. That's kind of why I have the Nintendo esports in the top right there. I could only really speculate. Like you never know. It could be possible. They could be working towards that, and maybe there is some plans to maybe push more competitive for them. But regardless, even if they're not, the community honestly seems like really worth it in terms of trying to help out. You know?
yeah, I agree. And these Nintendo events like have like huge reach. I remember like another conversation I had with like a couple of casual con goers and the YouTubers that I ran into, but they are all super familiar with like the official Nintendo events. They think it's great, and I think it's great exposure for the scene. Like
Oh yeah.
whether it be Smash or Splatoon, and like I hope it continue. I hope maybe there's another game that'll get released along the line. There could be a Nintendo esport that we know nothing about, in the future.
You're talking about Arms, aren't you? Arms
Arm,
2.
Arm's nice. Arms are listen. Arm's nice.
All right,
Arm's,
listen.
yeah, but everything's had its chance to shine, and even Arms to an extent still has like a very niche scene, in some parts of the world, and I don't know. I think the Nintendo esports things are really cool. It's cool seeing Nintendo just like it's definitely like a gradual working relationship, but
Well, how about
it's
we jump to that because I sort of this was after talking to Flambeau for a while when I finished packing up and everything on Sunday. And yeah, Flambeau's a really, really good Smash commentator, really, really good Brawlhalla commentator. Always looking for new stuff.
he's a really good everything
Dude,
commentator. Flambeau, like
he has a fantastic personality. Dude's just good at commentating, like outright. So I was kind of
that's my
talking to
guy.
him about it, and it's really easy to basically harness an esport. What a lot of these guys do, and when I say guys, I mean like game developers, like let's just say Brawlhalla. What they'll do is they'll take maybe 10% or some percent of what their game nets, and they'll just throw it to basically helping the esports communities grow of their game. And I'm like, this would be a super easy format for Nintendo to do, and I gotta wonder if maybe that's sort of like on the radar of things to do. I sort of hope, and that's sort of what makes me think that maybe it's possible that they might start over with the Splatoon 3, which is kind of what has me kind of excited. You don't ever want to hold your breath for these things. This is literally just speculation. But it
Right.
seems reasonable when you really think about it because that was the whole thing that they rolled out the system release for. And this is a picture of all the Splatoon guys after. Shout outs to Moosh and Bros Calamity / the lab in Philly or Hatboro rather, Pennsylvania for basically providing all the equipment and making the setup happen.
Yeah,
Look at all these, dude. Pretty much everyone is smiling in this picture. Everyone was pretty stoked to be there.
I totally like glazed over, but like Moosh himself like also like puts in a lot of work for Splatoon. Like he
He
I
loves
know at the
it.
lab I know at the lab that they run monthlies for it. He's
Hmm.
talking about he wants to maybe like get something started on that and like a little bit further. So it's nice to see that the Northeast is continuing to find a homes for the Squid
I'll tell
Kids.
you, man. It's a really big pain in the butt to set up in terms of just you have to sort of network LAN all of the switches together, and again, there's 8 of them. In addition to the spectator, which is the stream for in our case, and that's a lot of work. So there is some legwork, but like I will tell you, I would happily stream this game again, and I would happily like have a chat full of Splatoon 2 fans. It was seriously so good. So I sort of think
Yeah,
of like Nintendo as that, like maybe they see a little bit of that involved, and that's sort of the thing they might want to push because that sort of fits their brand anyway. So you kind of never know what might happen. In my mind, I feel like it would make a perfect sense.
yeah. The beauty in that is also that like in the rules it states that Splatoon players have to bring on switches if they want to play. Like unlike other LAN games where like you have to have the systems all hooked up to each other, like the Switch is like one of the easiest to like make that work. Obviously, the docks are about $80 a pop, so like you have to account for that. But like, and obviously having 8 monitors at a hand makes things a little bit difficult. But the game in regards to like other LAN tournaments like isn't super bad, but I agree. It's like the legwork is rough, but it's definitely worth it after seeing, after hearing the how excited the crowd was and seeing how into it everybody was. It was a lot of fun, and the few people, like I said, the community was great, and I definitely look forward to my next time attending it at a
Look at all
Splatoon
these
event.
wires, man. Look at all these wires. Whew, that's a
Yeah, we
network switch right there, not a Nintendo Switch.
yeah,
And
we gotta get like a we definitely have to get like a tablecloth or something for
so yeah, just drape it over.
yeah.
It's a work in progress, but I do think that on the Nintendo esports sides of things, the closest we've really seen are some tournaments that catch a Nintendo sponsor. The like some Smash tournaments that be it the likes of like Frostbite and I think what's it Shine has the Nintendo sponsorship. So
Yes.
it's obviously on their radar. It's obviously something they're looking to do. Again, this is speculation, but I see a lot of merit in something like this, and that is why I will probably keep pushing for it. And I don't know, like if Moosh were to want to work with a stream on that, like I would happily do it with him. So yeah, I don't know, man. I think that the esports section could totally grow. But we all know that Nintendo's got its own pace and its own way of doing stuff. So
Yeah,
That's that.
it's slowly getting better. Like compared to how things were when I first like got into the scene to where we are now, like things are drastically better. And obviously there's still like some translation stuff that needs to be like worked out.
Translated.
But I yeah, pretty much cannot dispute fact on that one. But yeah, it's a work in progress, and I think things are in a step in the right direction. I think all the competitive games are in a good state right now, and we shall see how things move forward.
Yeah, man. So, as we mentioned, we are in the process of changing up our format, and this is our last podcast of season two. I mean, well, season two for Smash, anyways, and this sort of being a Smash centric podcast, but once again, that sort of stuff can change. And I don't know. So, we have some new ideas in terms of things we're looking to do in season two, and I think it might be kind of a cool time to talk about it.
Yeah, so like I said at the top of the show, like we've been doing this podcast for over a year at this point, and I gotta say, I'm not only just proud of like how far this has come, like how far spread this has gotten, because there's still people that like not even people in my like everyday life just like, yo, I heard you got a podcast now, and I'm like, oh no, um,
Oh, yes.
yes, exactly, but yeah, like I'm also just more proud of myself because like it's really for me to do anything for like an extended period of time, that means I
Consistency.
yeah, like consistency is huge, and it's also like a personal problem I struggle with to be like motivated to do things, and like
Honestly, same.
we've like, and I think that's why we're both pretty good for each other. We both like motivate each other in like different facets, like you motivate me to like get a better hold on my technological advances, because like I've learned that I think I'm pretty good at this whole
Yeah,
talking on the
dude,
stream
you're
thing.
great at it, man. And that's sort of the thing. The whole thing is symbiotic, and I'm even looking to branch out in my own personal ways in terms of content creation and Master Hand in general. And Splatoon sort of felt like a gateway to do that, and seeing all the YouTubers around sort of made me feel very motivated to take those steps. And even like the great Gonzalez, he's making he's getting into the YouTube game himself as someone who consumes a lot of YouTube content about the gaming things. The guy is a retro gaming collector after all, and I think his first video is going to be about Too Many Games convention, so that'll be interesting. I think that there is so much to come of this, but in the way of Smash, which I know that's where the bulk of our audience comes from, at least locally and at this point, which I'd like to think will probably grow beyond that niche at this point, but as far as content goes, I think you could expect to see some interviews in the future. You could expect to see more pre-records like this. Pretty much all pre-records. I think we're definitely gonna take a break from the live stuff, and I kind of harped on that earlier, so we don't really have to get into it
Yeah,
again.
I
But
think the live stuff. I think the live stuff is fine for like the PR reveal show, which we still plan on
yes,
doing.
totally.
Um, that totally works out. Like for special events, I think the live streams are fine. Um, but obviously, like pre-recorded kind of works better for people's schedules. Not everybody's available on a Tuesday night for a stream, so it'll better adequate. It'll better help us. We're also we're recording this on a Monday. We don't usually do that, but we got some stuff happening this week that we got to take care of. And like you said, like we still primarily are going to cater to Smash stuff. That's where our
It's our
backbone
roots,
is.
man.
Yeah, that's our roots. You got to stay to your roots. People really like it when we talk about the national stuff. They really like it when we talk about the more local stuff, especially because like I've been saying, the Northeast is kind of the hot spot for Smash right now, and the summer is going to be heating up for all things up and down the East Coast. So things are going to be fun, and it's also a time for us to like kind of branch out and do some other things, because you and I both share interests
Dude,
that are not just like Smash. We both like other video games, stuff like that, so it gives us an opportunity to maybe like if there's kind of a dull week, we can kind of like talk about something else. Like we talked about the E3 in depth a while ago. We talked about the Detective Pikachu movie like a while ago. We did some kind of weird offbeat podcast, and while only missing 2 weeks out of like the 53,
those
we've been
were
doing
and
this.
those were some
So
of our favorite ones. I mean, at least I know there were some of my favorite ones. They felt very natural, and I think the biggest trick with the whole thing is honing in on that audience that might think like, oh, this is a Smash podcast, or might not know how to find it. But that's all work to be had. And yeah, so this is the last week of season two for Smash Ultimate, which brings us to season three. Speaking of the PR podcast, that'll probably be sometime next week. I'm gonna
yeah, it'll
shoot
be sometime next week.
towards the end of the
Depending,
week,
yeah,
possibly.
depending on if we do things the way we did it last time, we'll like spend the week deciding everything, and we'll probably do a podcast on Friday like we did last time.
Right before Platinum, very fitting.
Yeah. And obviously, yeah, that's true. And as we said, like, we did state that we are, the live streams are going to kind of stop for the, the podcast standard. And maybe in the future, because we do have two audiences, both to be on SoundCloud and this, maybe we'll add a little something special in for the YouTube viewing
Yeah.
audience to kind of make it worth their while in the end. Because obviously, to make it worth their while is this fantastic layout that Chris has put
In the
together.
meantime, we definitely gotta, or I have to make some advances on that, but that'll come with some new ideas. And the
Yeah.
feedback really is helpful. It really is helpful. So even if like you're listening to this right now, or you just have like things where you're just like, oh yeah, I'm kind of interested in these things. Like maybe we are too. You could always add us via Twitter. Since we aren't live, you can't really add us in the chat. So sorry about that. But both Koopa and I are very accessible, and obviously we're going to be looking to do the content that we like as well. So that's the
Yeah.
main focus.
Yeah, the Smash stuff's not going away, but like, depending on how slow the week might be, we can probably do like a one-off podcast on some other stuff. So, we're gonna keep ourselves flexible both with Smash and non-Smash related things. So
Yeah, I guess it's just gonna fall on us to become some interesting people. I don't know. I don't know what we'll do.
yeah, I might have to go back to college for that. I'm not totally sure.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to think like what else we could kind of cover. I feel like we didn't. That's the other thing I kind of like. I feel like there's a little less pressure to make this last a certain amount of time. Like I feel like we kind of like this felt smooth, a little bit more smooth than some of the usual podcasts that we have. Where it's just like, well, okay, we said we're gonna be live for an hour.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like it's really easy because we it's a lot more bite-sized because we don't have the pressures of the live audience. We don't have to have the technical snafus of streaming live on Twitch because God knows how miserable that can be sometimes.
And I think sometimes
But
just digesting a shorter duration of things makes you more likely to listen to it all. Because I feel like sometimes things get lost in the hour cast. That's not to say that we can't do hour plus casts or that won't be a thing in the future. And even that can't be a thing today, honestly. But like, it's just I don't know. I just feel like it's a little more engaging this way. So
yeah, I agree. And we're about reaching the hour point now. But like we said, the content is still primarily going to be Smash stuff. Like we'd be silly not to do it because we are coming up on the big meaty stuff of the season, being Evo and
yes,
and Smash Con and Shine coming up in August, and also Defend the North, which I believe is
July
nearing
19th.
on. Yeah, I think it's either at C tier or nearing B tier. I'm pretty sure. So
Yeah, there's a lot. I think it's nearing B tier. It's definitely past C tier. I think when I asked Devin, House of 2000 Devin, of course, who will be streaming this, bless his soul, probably the best in the business at Smash streaming. He was telling me that it was 200 plus. So I gotta think. What is C tier again?
I think it's 400 or something. I'm not totally
I
sure.
think that's super realistic, and I gotta tell you, it's just been kind of good advertising. Like I know I've been advertising Defend the North for months now on MHG. So, and obviously he's been doing it on House of 3000 since it's his essentially his baby. So, the tournament was really well advertised, and I think that will be it sort of kind of speaks volumes. What else goes on Defend the North? I know it's like a big FGC tournament in general. I actually just saw a
Yeah,
picture of an Inkling, so I guess Splatoon is there also.
yeah. So Defend the North is a huge. It's one of those huge cruxes of like the FGC like crossover events. Like think of Evo, but like in the Northeast. Where it's gonna have multiple fighting games like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. I'm assuming Soul Calibur, Tekken, Dragon Ball Fighters, probably Skullgirls. I know they had last year, and of course, Smash and maybe Splatoon. I'm not sure what else is on the docket, but there's this event is huge, and it's in New Yorker this year. So I cannot attend the event to work it, but I am going to be stopping by to say hi, just because I want to be able to support the event
What is
and
this
hang out with
commercial? What
us.
is this?
What are you watching?
Dude, this is on Defend the North the Twitter.
This is terrifying. What is this? Oh God!
Oh my
Get away
gosh,
from me.
what yo, I'm so confused.
That was horrifying. I
I'm
never
so
want to see that movie
confused.
again. Yeah, but
I thought it was a car commercial, but that was just Mario, and there was no actual plug for the like
yeah,
car. But yeah, all
that
right.
was weird.
I think
But
that,
yeah,
that that's
so
probably as good a place as any, quite honestly, to
yeah,
wrap it up.
yes, so I was gonna say like I think one of my favorite parts about this weekend is something that I regretfully didn't it's one of the reasons I regret not going to Smash and Splash, and it's that we got to actually like hang out and like do things this
Yeah,
weekend.
man, we were
Like
actually
even
friends. It felt good.
yeah,
Good,
like
good to
we
be
weren't just like
friends.
we weren't just business friends, but like we got to like room with each other and like hang out and do stuff and go out to dinner with everybody. And it's fun getting to like hang out with House and RJ when they're not like stressed out of their minds running tournaments. So
Yes.
it was definitely a nice change of pace because like I love hanging out with you guys. You guys are like some of my best friends on the scene, obviously. So
Yeah, man. I mean,
it
same.
was great.
And at this point, I feel like we all do so much work together. I'm pretty certain since from the get-go, from like Let's Make Moves, that sort of team of like us at MHG and House of 3000 on the other end of streaming, and RJ from the TO, the organizing standpoint, like we've been involved in all of these events. It's really interesting, and something we didn't really talk about today was even a little bit of difference in streaming. We got that VG Bootcamp bump in viewership because the tournament was white labeled by House and put on VG Bootcamp, which is an interesting topic in itself. Probably nothing we'll really cover today. But like, yeah, it made it a little bit different where I feel like it was a little bit lax. Like RJ wasn't the main TO; he just kind of ran things, so he was like in a very good mood. Devin just had his system kind of down and didn't really have to worry about uploads. Just kind of sent everything to VG. So it ended up being a good weekend. Yours truly ended up a little stressed, but I turned it around. It's kind of towards the end. But it was definitely a good time. I don't usually get to hang out with you guys in that context, so yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you on all that.
Yeah, it's fun and it's something we should do more often just to kind of take the edge off because it's fun when we get to lay back and eat some chicken wings or munch down on some Wawa hoagies or something. So
Reminds me rather, of why we do the things we do. Because when I tell you that it was kind of one of those weekends where it kind of brought me down a little bit in terms of like emotionally and just sort of being frustrated with some technical issues and like the OBS updates and driver things, like it sort of shattered me, but it was very digestible and I felt actually pretty good the whole way through, despite that, just kind of being around like people that are
yeah,
are good to be around.
yeah, it really helps when like the people that are on your core staff are a programmer and an IT director.
Yeah.
So two IT directors because I'm pretty sure Helper works in IT
Don't
also.
don't call me carried though.
So. you just lift weights.
Yeah, that's it.
The
I'll do the
Chad.
carrying, thank you.
Yeah, the Chad MHG.
You yeah, that's MHG, man, the chat MHG. So that's the thing. We'll be maybe looking to encompass that a little bit more in the future. I think no reason to fight our identities here. But yeah, so I guess that is sort of going to be the show for the week. I hope you guys really enjoyed this format. I got to tell you, I actually feel really good about it. I have like a fully different feel for it. And I kind of think that maybe that'll translate to anyone listening and watching. And again, like if you guys were interested in some of this stuff, always give us feedback. If you guys have any kind of thoughts or, kind of recent events or current events rather that are interesting to you in the world of gaming, media, movies, whatever the case may be, we're friendly guys. Hit us up. You can find me at CSantoZX on Twitter. Koopa, they can find you at KoopaNJ on Twitter. And, of course, you can find Masterhand Gaming at Masterhand Games on Twitter. And those are all of the applicable Twitters today.
Yep, you can follow us there. Like we said, the end of the season's coming up. We got the Forge and Platinum Star coming up next month.
Yep.
Spider-Man comes out in the 2 weeks, so that could be an
Oh.
idea for an on-off podcast we can do. Just for lulz, because like I said, between now and Evo, things are kind of a little slow because Evo used to be the big July tournament, and now Evo has since moved into the August realm. It's the first weekend of August, so
I didn't
we're gonna have
realize that.
yeah. So I think it's weekends. It goes Evo, and then the next weekend is SmashCon, and then 2 weeks
Okay.
after that is Shine. So everything kind of happening back to back to back from each other, and it's gonna
So
be fun.
is Evo different this year? Is there something different with Evo this year in terms of games that are there? Am I
I don't know.
making this
We'll
up?
we'll, we'll
Yeah,
cross that bridge
well,
when we
we
get
got
there.
we got we got over a month to figure that out. So
Yeah, we'll bring Steve on the podcast to yell about how bad Evo can be sometimes or
Minecraft,
something. But
Steve.
yeah, I gotta go, man.
Yeah, me too, I guess. I'm sorry.
Psych.
Good games. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. Again, you like this podcast, hit the thumbs up, share it with a buddy, or tell us we're cool guys. We always appreciate the feedback once again. So thanks. Enjoy your day, evening, wherever this podcast finds you, and we will catch you next episode, or actually next season.
See ya.